There are budget phones and there are budget phones, and the Samsung Galaxy A04 is the budget phone. Does that make sense? Okay, let's make it make sense. The Samsung Galaxy A04 is that budget Samsung device you consider when you want the very minimum offering from Samsung, but not too minimum. Say somewhere just above the core Galaxy devices. Not to be mistaken for the A04s, this is a younger sibling, but pretty much carries the same design language Samsung seems to want to replicate on all their devices. Only that this has just two rear cameras which distinct it from the others. It is a very budget entry-level offering from Samsung where you can still experience full Android and One UI, not the Go edition. Actually, safe to call it an intended upgrade from the A03 we saw barely 9 months ago. I also reviewed that one. Links will be in the description in case you want to check it out. This is priced at about 88,000 Naira for the base version with 3 gigs of RAM and 32 gig of internal storage. There is a 4 gig version with 64 gigs of storage, both expandable by SD card. Now, what interests me most about this device is not just its similarity to the A04s, but actually its processor, that is the Mediatek Helio P35, same processor on the Galaxy A12 of last year. So, safe to say this packs just as much power in raw performance, hopefully. But there's one thing always lacking with this end of Samsung's A series, which still carries on to the A04, no fingerprint scanner. At this point, I don't even know why Samsung does this, because I think they are the only manufacturer in this segment doing this. Now, you could say this device is targeted at don't really care about the fingerprint scanner as long as the device works fine and gives that One UI experience. Maybe elderly persons. Just like the A13 and A04s, this comes with a 50 megapixel main camera, but I wouldn't say it packs the same level of performance. But let's get to that later. On this design, we see a glossy rare finish and build quality expected at this price point. In the box, the Galaxy A04 comes with a 15 watts charging brick and USB cable as the only accessories. Onto its performance, I'd say it gives you pretty much the performance you can expect at this price point. Nothing exceptional, but it will handle your regular apps for the most part, including a decent level of multitasking. It's an entry-level phone, so you definitely won't be expecting it to perform like the more expensive ones. It's great to see that we get the Mediatek Helio P35, which, while it's an old processor, is great to have on an entry-level device. The software here is the core version of One UI 4.1 based on Android 12. It will get Android 13 in the not too distant future, and I can say for certain Android 14 is guaranteed. That's something you probably won't get on any other devices at this price point. It is typical One UI experience except that you don't get the main features like secure folder, edge panel, smart view, default screen recording, but you get pretty much every other One UI feature that makes it one of the best Android experiences out there. I like that it has been built in similar fashion as the A04s from a design standpoint, but I dislike that it doesn't have a fingerprint scanner. Now, the Samsung Galaxy A04 shines in the battery department as it packs a 5000 mAh battery, and I can say for certain this can go more than a day of average to heavy use on a full charge, and it supports 15 watts fast charging. It is not a gaming device. That actually should not be expected at this price point, but it will handle some light gaming at low graphics quite well, as long as you keep your expectations at a minimum. Now, compared to other devices released so far this year around this price point, I'd say it holds up to some extent, except for the lack of a fingerprint scanner. But that could be ignored when you consider that this has the best software experience at this price point and also with longer software support from Samsung. Now, if however you want something a little better than this, it is actually not priced far from the higher A04s, which offers better cameras and better refresh rates. Speaking of cameras, the A04 gets a dual rear setup comprising of a 50MP main camera and a 2MP depth sensor. The selfie camera is 5 megapixels. The camera performance is pretty much the expected for this price point. Nothing exceptional, but good enough and probably better than most of the competition. It requires the ideal lighting conditions to give you its best. However, I recommend sticking to the rear cameras for all photos as the selfie camera is not that great. Now, you will get presentable photos, but it won't wow you. That is actually expected at this price point, so no surprises there. It can shoot videos at 1080p 30fps from both its selfie and rear cameras, but as with the photos, find the best lighting conditions and keep your expectations low. If you are buying the Galaxy A04, you are probably on a really tight budget, and this is definitely going to get the job done. If you need a device that will handle basic multitasking, it has great battery, it is durable and will last you a long time of usage, the A04 fits the description. But if you want better, you probably shouldn't even be watching this video, and you should also be revising your budget. With that said, this will serve as a great device for someone who is not really into smartphones, just make calls occasionally, browse the internet and use regular apps, maybe some basic gaming as well. That is all from me. What do you think about the A04s? Peace.